This is about an online program called Topical Storm that helps students write. It's been used in grades 3 through 5 for a couple of years, so the bugs are worked out, but it's very much an experimental effort, and I'm looking for feedback on improving it. The program addresses two common problems. Students are afraid to write, and we are all students, and we're all afraid to write. And the problem for teachers is that there's not enough time to help those students the way they would like. So the difficult part of writing is how open-ended it is. How do you start? Which direction do you go? And when are you done? Now in a classroom, if you're stuck at a blank page or a blank organizer and you're not sure what to type next, you can talk to the teacher. This is my daughter Selena in 6th or maybe 8th grade. And the teacher, being a human being, can think of a lot of ways to coax ideas out of your head. But it takes time to do that. So using the software, you can have a whole classroom of students, each one having their own individual conversation with the computer, because the computer asks different questions depending on the student's interests. And then all of those students' ideas are saved so that they can enjoy them, edit them, improve them, the teacher can insert comments, and they can share with the rest of the class. So why is it possible for a computer to have these conversations? And that's because it starts with a set of questions. There are predefined sets of questions for persuasive essay, personal, narrative, short story, informational, and some other genres that have been used in other classrooms. And any of these, you can change the questions or create questions for your own assignment. And within those questions is logic that tells the computer when to ask a question of a given student. There are 3 levels of students that the teacher can set. Students who have maybe the least proficiency in a certain area, the logic will give them more support. What's different about this software is that the logic causes the program to ask a different question depending on what the student said. And the reason that this is possible is that there are a lot of standard moves in thinking. It's kind of Socratic method. It's a set of tools that move you down a train of thought and help you to think more deeply about a subject. It might ask the student, what do you believe? And when they state their thesis, the program responds with more questions like, why do you think so? Give me an example. Who else believes this? And if the student says, well, I read it in this particular book, it will follow up by saying, why do you trust this source? And there are a lot of moves like this that are very standard. So let's see what it looks like from the point of view of the student. It's a web link that takes the student directly in to a private area where they can see all of their own work. The teacher can see everyone's work. And each student usually has this link on their desktop so they don't have to remember passwords or go through a complicated login session. Let's start a new essay. Choose a type of essay. I'm going to choose argue your opinion on a topic, which is basically a persuasive. And I'm going to just give it a provisional title, Persuasive 3. The way the program operates is it asks questions on the left side of the screen, and as the student answers them, they get summarized on the right side of the screen. In this new version of the software, the teacher can assign a proficiency level of 1 to 3. A level 1 student would get more scaffolding, more sentence starters, more hints, and possibly simpler language. So to start out, this program helps you write a persuasive essay. And if you click on blue words, you get glossary definitions on the right. And this is just one of some very standard types of support. You have text-to-speech on every block of text, and we'll see sentence starters and sample responses and things like that. Let's click the next page. And I start with a multiple choice question because I want to narrow down the topic. And that is so that the program can offer questions that are specific to a topic and make sense. I'm going to choose, should students be allowed to use their cell phones in class? It echoes what I answered, and it says, which of these do you believe? Yes, I think cell phones in class are a great idea. Express this thesis in your own words. Cell phones are an important learning tool. All right. And as I type, my answers are echoed on the right side under section headings that show me the structure of a persuasive essay. One thing that this program does is or the lesson does that I wrote, is it gives the student a certain amount of choice. Depending on their interests, they might want to answer one question or another. But it doesn't let them completely off the hook so that they can click through. For the level 1 student, which this is, student 1 is a level 1 student, they have to click at least 2 questions. So what good thing will happen if cell phones can be used in class? And what bad thing will happen if cell phones cannot be used in class? Well, maybe that's a little redundant. What is one time you used your phone to learn something? And how does it feel to be told you can't use your phone in class? Oh, I like feeling questions. All right, so I've chosen 3. It says if cell phones can be used in class. And so it's given me a sentence starter, and because I'm a level 1, it also gives me a hint of something I can think about that's maybe more specific that would help me think what my answer would be. And I type, if cell phones can be used in class, we can look things up. So it echoed that over here on the right. Now it's doing several more things. It's explaining that what I've just come up with is a cause and effect relationship. It's also asking me in Socratic form, go a little further with this idea by choosing at least one of these questions. Tell a story about using a phone in class to learn something. And how could you keep from annoying people with your phone? I will answer both of those. All right. So it's put this information on the right. And rather than walk through these other questions, I'm just going to go right to an essay that was done previously. And here's what I did. Went on to an example. Emotions, if I'm told to turn off my phone, I can click any of these to go back and edit. It makes me feel like the teacher doesn't trust me. So that's a whole different way to argue it. And then this is very typical. An opposing view. It says, what if somebody thinks your thesis is wrong? What might they say is true instead? They might say phones are a temptation and people will be checking their email. And so what can you say to try to change their mind? Finally, a conclusion. It says, read over your ideas in the organized notes, and what is one more thing you can say about cell phones in class? And you notice that it's able to put together a sentence and mention cell phones in class. It knows that that's the topic that we're talking about. In short story, it remembers the main character's name, it uses correct pronouns, it uses things that you've said about the main character to suggest plot starters. So there is logic inside here. It creates a natural type of conversation with the student, draws them in, gets them interested in their own ideas, and shows them that their ideas are actually interesting, well organized, something they're proud of. And after I choose this sentence starter and fill in an answer for it, I now have a conclusion for my essay. So what do I have at this point? There are 3 tabs on the right. Transcript shows all of the questions that the lesson asked me and all of my answers in green. I can go back to any one of them by clicking. Organized Notes shows not the questions, just the answers under section headings that were provided by the structure of the lesson. And Draft is similar. It's all of my answers without the section headings. For Draft, it might be in a little bit different order. So that, for example, after writing an essay, I might write the introduction last after I know what it is I want to say, but the draft will put it at the beginning. I can take any of these tabs and I can print it. I can copy it to the clipboard, and then if I want other students to be able to look at it, I click the Share button, and now it will appear in all of the other students' lists. I come back out here to the list of my work, and I can change the title to something else. Let's say, cell phones are helpful for school. So now that we've seen what the student experiences in creating an essay, let's have a look at how easy it is for the teacher to set the program up for their class. To set up a Topical Storm website for your class, You specify the number of students and you get back a spreadsheet containing a link for each student and this link at the top for the teacher. When you click your teacher link, the first thing you're going to see is a dashboard showing the students and the teacher all of the logins for your site. This is a sample site that already has some information in it. Student 2, Student 3, and if you go in to the options, you can see information about the student, including the login link in case you need to give it to them again. There's a proficiency level from 1 to 3, and lessons use this to determine the difficulty of the questions and the amount of extra support. Level 1 students get the most support. The first thing you'll want to do in a new site is to go to the lessons themselves and to check the ones that you want to offer to your students. If you want to customize one of the lessons, you'll be given the questions and the logic in the form of a Google Doc that you can edit. And that's really all you have to do. The program is fairly self-explanatory. It's probably a good idea to go through a sample with the students first, but it's fairly easy for them to use. By looking at the list of essays, you can see which students are stuck. If a student has 0 sentences, you might want to go over and talk to that student and find out how you can help them. One thing you can do as the teacher is to insert comments in the student's work. This is an actual 4th grader's essay on why cell phones should not be allowed in class. And if I'm the teacher, I can go in and add a comment. So for example, I'll go to this answer that the student has and click Add a Comment and type my comment. Now the student can see it. They can turn your comments off, but if they want to, they can go to that answer and they can add more to their essay. So you can see Student 8, cell phones in class. This little symbol takes you to comment number 1,